Welcome to Oaa Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Taormina.
Welcome to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Taormina, blogger of the Dragon's Den, blogger of Inside the OAA, and one of the hosts between Taorminas on Orange Neighborhood Television. I'd like to welcome our friends watching on Oxford Community Television and also those watching on YouTube. Today I got Ian Lockback for a unprecedented straight week.
Unprecedented is right, Sam.
So ever since we went to radio, you know what I mean? It's made life easier,
It is making life easier. This is fun, The shows are, if you're wondering, yes, if you're listening to this show, you can come in and make a podcast or a radio show like we're doing right now, Sam, right?
I agree with you.
And
it's a beautiful sunny day,
sunny day. And how easy is this to do these shows?
Oh, it's really easy. Very
easy. It's easy. So we're working on having classes put together for the community to take to learn how to do a show just like this. So Sam, I know we got a lot to talk to. So
especially football, girls basketball, also. But let's recap football. Of course, as mentioned, of course. You watched a couple games. I watched a couple games. Two of the games, especially that had league implications, of course. One did not go very well, and the other one was oddly bizarre.
Bizarre is an understatement, to say the least.
Very bizarre.
And it's stuck with anybody who heard the score of that D1 game.
West Bloomfield Clarkson.
Yes. It was in shock. I mean, they were like,
no, I'm still in shock.
Everybody thought it was a typo.
It's a baseball score. It basically was. I mean, if you did not watch the state championship game, the score was 3-2.
3-2
in favor of Clarkston.
And Clarkston scored all five.
Clarkston, of course, this is their third state championship in 5 years.
Amazing.
Which is unheard of. But when you look at the stats of this game, it clearly showed West Bloomfield dominated Clarkston. I mean, they outgained them 285 to 117.
Wow.
And in the air, it was 114 to only 33. So when you look at the differences of the game, of course, we're going to address them in a minute, but let's see how we got here. The first one, West Bloomfield scored first. Of course, they had a safety, which resulted in a bad punt by Clarkston.
But that set the tone for the weirdness of this Twilight Zone-y Bermuda Triangle type game. It's
odd because when I look at the score 3-2, I'm thinking I'm going back to week 4. And West Bloomfield laid a whooping on Clarkson in the swamp, 37-15. And I'm going like, where is this offense? Where is West Bloomfield's offense? Where is it? Where is their offense?
Yeah, it's the more we watched. I even watched the replay to make sure. Did I see that? Did I dream it?
Yeah.
That when you watched it, it was played between the 40s, it felt, right? And then
it did.
I don't want to get into the penalties just yet, but the way Clarkson got in position to kick the field goal was, it was nothing real special. It was kind of...
It was only a 30-yard kick.
Yeah, there was nothing there. But to set the tone of this game with that safety and to look at it and go, West Bloomfield didn't even really do it. Clarkston hiked the ball over their punter's head out of bounds. That was the safety.
That was the safety. And then you look at, of course...
unbelievable.
Then when you look at let's talk about West Bloomfield.
Sure.
Let's talk about, this was a team that had 71 recruits, a potent offense, everything. And they only scored in the last 2 weeks.
7 D1 recruits.
71 recruits. In the last 2 weeks, they've only scored a total of 11 points.
Yeah.
11 points.
Yeah.
Offensively, West Bloomfield only scored 9 points. And they didn't score a touchdown. The last touchdown they scored was a Bryce Veazey touchdown run to seal a win against Utica Eisenhower.
Yeah, and that was on the 10th of November.
It scored 3 field goals. And then they can't score a touchdown again.
They couldn't even score a field goal.
Nothing. Either. Now, I'm going to criticize Bellamy here, Ron Bellamy here for this one. Clarkson's up 3-2. But in the third quarter.
Let's say the field goal came when? Just so you,
in the second quarter.
Okay, second quarter field goal for Clarkson. 3-2, you figure more's coming. Offense is
coming offense. But here's my criticism here. On a third down, and they were going for, on a 4th down 11, from the 30-yard line. Instead of kicking a field goal, which was basically a 47-yard field goal, you have a kicker in Nick O'Shea who can definitely hit that. They go for it on 4th down.
Indoors, too.
Indoors. And they can't get it. You can't get it.
4th and what?
4th and 11. Why would you go for a field goal? Why wouldn't you go for a field goal, when you're at Clarkson's 30, taking a risk on a 47-yard kick? Basically, it's in Nick O'Shea's range. I've seen him kick 47-yarders before. I mean, why would Bellamy go for it on 4th down like that? I know, but still, that's not good play call.
It wasn't like 4th and 5 and you were lighting them up
You're at
on the
30-yard
outside.
line. If the points are so low, you know what I mean? If it's a low-scoring game, just give Nick O'Shea a chance to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
It'd be up 5-3.
If it was in the first quarter or something like that, and you don't know how the game's going to be played out,
You should go for it.
Right? Yeah.
You should go for
exactly. So in the third quarter, you know where the game stands.
Yeah.
The defensively, both are standing on their heads. They are both walls going at each other, and nothing is happening.
Yep. And I'm saying to you, if Bellamy had confidence in Nick O'Shea, and I know he's got a lot of confidence in Nick O'Shea, give him a chance to kick that field goal. If you kick the field goal, you're up 5-3. And all the pressure's back on Clarkson.
Yeah. Who couldn't move the ball?
Yeah. But when you look at West Bloomfield,
it's a head scratcher, Sammy. I've never seen a football game like that.
No, I'm not either. When you look at what happened, I know Clarkson's defense has played really well.
Yeah.
Ever since the second half of that game against Holland West Ottawa. What does that say about the Wolves defense? Now, they allowed 7 points to nobody Detroit Catholic Central, and to only allow just that safety. But that safety, you can't fault their defense.
No. And it was a mistake on their part. It wasn't the defense did not give that up.
No, they didn't give that up. But then to shut down that potent offense, like with West Bloomfield.
Nerves?
You got to give their defensive coordinators a lot of credit.
Absolutely. And we talked about this in the previous episode about who's in line to get it, right? Mm-hmm. Who's going to win it? And it was kind of like, well, I'm going to lean West Bloomfield. I think they're hungry. I don't know. Maybe they're nervous. You go, well, Clarkson's been there.
They
have crew. A number of guys have been there. Coaching staff's been there. They know how to prepare the kids. The families have been there.
Correct.
The community's been there, right?
Right.
They've been there a million times.
Right.
So West Bloomfield, lot on the line. Never been there. First time out of the gate. It seemed like they were playing.
Look at the talent, though.
I know, but
West Bloomfield beat Clarkson earlier in the year in the swamp.
They're still 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, man. And if you get nervous, you play tight. It seemed like they were playing tight.
It seemed like it, And then I think, do you think, for Coach Ron Bellamy, I know this is his first time being here.
Yeah.
Do you think it's his responsibility to get his team ready like this? Because it looked like I didn't think he got them prepared.
Well, I don't know if it wasn't prepared. I think it was a combination of things. One, I do believe they were playing nervous. They're playing scared a little. Mm-hmm. Like, the situation, huge situation right here. Biggest game of their life ever for the school, for the community, for the kids. That's one.
Right.
Then Clarkston played unbelievable defense.
Yeah, defensively,
so
Clarkson
you
played
have
very
those
well.
two together with a team that's a little shaky and a team that's playing with confidence on defensive side of the ball. It made for a 3-2 walk-off, 3-2 walk-off home run win for Clarkston.
Beasley finished with Beasley was 15 for 32 for 274 yards with 2 picks. Of course, the pick late.
Yeah, that was the
pick late by Tyler Houston to seal it. But
and that throw is desperation.
Right. And you look at the ground attack. Of course, AJ Abbott had 7 catches for 79 yards. Todd Fasab had 4 catches for 76 yards. Tight end James Faulkner had 4 catches for 56 yards. They
shared it. There was not one person that came out and said, I'm taking over this game. Not one receiver. It was just it was just weird. Not what you expect from West Bloomfield.
No, but I thought defensively, West Bloomfield played really well.
They did. They both defenses played out of their mind.
They played really well. They played really well.
You can even argue that they played better than Clarkston did based on the numbers.
And the stats showed they outplayed Clarkson. The stats show it. It's just the result was the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And let's look at Clarkson. You know what I mean? Senior heavy team. Of course, no Josh Cantu. Mike Flugel, had to carry the load for Clarkston. He, along with the newcomer who's a junior, and Jacob Belletti. Jacob Billette. Yep. He will be back next year for Clarkston.
Tough kid, man.
He's going to be the Wolves' top running back next year.
Yeah, and something about Billette. He comes from a family of athletes. His sister is a D1 cross country and track runner at Michigan State. His little sister is was varsity on that stacked cross country team over at Clarkston. She was on the state qualifying team. Athlete. So when they called his name off, I'm like, oh, there's another Billette over there at Clarkston. I wasn't surprised when he got the ball, and he did a good job. He did really good.
Billette had 14 carries for 71 yards.
And key carries, too, when it mattered, to try to keep a drive going to keep that clock rolling.
Flugel had 11 carries for 41 yards. Of course, they combined for 25 carries for 112 yards. And, when you look at Clarkston next year, they're going to lose a ton.
Yeah.
They lose a lot, And, a lot of people say, they got to replace the quarterback. They got to replace a lot of receivers. I know they got two very good linemen coming back, Rocco Splinter, and then, one of them. But when you look at Clarkston, when you look at what they did did enough to find a way. And this was not a good Clarkston team to begin with. When you look at the Wolves,
not a traditional power Clarkston you'd expect to see.
I thought 2014, was the year Clarkston had everything. They had the pieces to repeat possibly state championship run, even in 2013 when they won it. Back then. But for Clarkston, Jermaine Romier kicked the 30-yarder to virtually win the game in the first half. He's a senior.
Yep.
What does that say?
Well, it goes back to, we've had discussions about this over the last couple episodes about, trying to predict who's going to go, who's going to win, the matchups, and the personnel pairings. Senior teams tend to rise to the top when it matters. Why?
Because they've been there.
This is it. They've been there. They know what's on the line. They realize what is happening. And this is your shot.
But West Bloomfield is a senior heavy team too.
I know, but it's, again, I go back to they haven't been there. I think they were playing scared. I think they were nervous. And then once it didn't start going their way, like things weren't easy for them, playing tight, alligator arms, right? But Clarkston's defense, who's number 45 for Clarkston?
I got Zach Scott.
That linebacker. Oh, man, that dude was everywhere.
Yeah.
Every time I look up, boom, tackle for a loss. You see a potential 10-yard gain. Nope, 3. Shoelace tackles, knocking ankles, knocking the quarterback down. It was unbelievable, the defense that Clarkston played.
They played well.
And,
but let's look at what we haven't talked about this one yet. And that is, let's go back to West Bloomfield.
Yeah.
The word penalties.
Yeah.
When I said before the previous show, I said during the previous show, I had concerns surrounding this team's lack of discipline. And it showed its ugly head in the state championship game. Because in which West Bloomfield was penalized 11 times for 105 yards. A couple of them were just at critical times, including the field goal where I believe it was a 15-yard penalty they got called for.
And I think it was away from the play. It was just not needed, or it was a dead ball, personal foul, I think it was.
When you look at this one, in the right frame of mind, you have to be disciplined. And West Bloomfield has had a habit at times not to be disciplined. it didn't show its ugly head in the regular season. You know, there were a couple times it showed its ugly head, but, you know.
But not that would be detrimental to the game.
Detrimental to the game. And this ended up being costly for the Lakers.
Yeah, especially with that final score.
When you look at the final score, you know, if they don't get that 15 yards, Clarkson don't get that field goal, and we're possibly talking a 2-0 shutout. So basically, if West Bloomfield, if they had to play that game over again, do you think West Bloomfield wins that game if they played it over again?
Ooh, good question, Sammy. I didn't even contemplate that. That is a very good question.
Because they played once in the swamp. It was 37-15.
Yeah, but I don't know. I usually you'd say yes. Like the better team, you said, give me 3 out of 5 and we'll win 3 out of 5. Or, 4 out of 5. You had your one shot. But I don't think Clarkston was that low. I don't think I don't think they were that, or West Bloomfield wasn't that superior to Clarkston to the point where he said, yeah, they'll take 4 out of 5.
Anthony Taormina said something.
Yes, what did he say?
It looks like West Bloomfield and Clarkston is starting to become the rivalry in the OA. When you look at football, when you look at boys basketball, when you look at, do you think, in your opinion, that I know Lake Orion and Clarkson's a rivalry, but do you think West Bloomfield and Clarkson is starting to become the rivalry in the OA?
It's starting to become the matchup that people want to see. Does it become the rivalry for Clarkston? Or is it
Oxford and Lake Orion possibly, and then now you probably if you had
another one,
primary rivalries, you have to put Clarkson and West Bloomfield. They're geographically close to each other.
It could be. At this point, I don't see that because it's just like talking about Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan, that sort of thing. Which one's the rival? One has more success over the other for a sustained period of time. Until they play equally or swap victories back and forth, you can't really tell what that rivalry will be.
But it's looking like these two teams have been swapping victories. Of course, when you look at
the regular season this year, sure.
And then, of course, you look at the playoff matchup. I mean, so that is an interesting.
I would say it potentially could be.
I think it's starting to become one because when you look at Clarkson and West Bloomfield, they're in the red for football, they're in the red for basketball. And I know a lot of people in Lake Orion don't want to hear this, but right now it's looking more and more like Clarkson and West Bloomfield are right now bigger rivals.
Yeah, is it again? Is it a rivalry when your rival does not rise to the occasion and make it a game?
That's true.
It'll always be a rivalry game for both sides, but the emotion level on one might outweigh the emotional level on
and I'm hearing a lot of people have been saying, you know what I mean? A lot of people, besides Anthony Taormina, and saying is West Bloomfield the rival to Clarkson? And right now, that answer is pretty simple right now, and I think it's yes.
Think so?
I think it is because the way that
for me, I think it's trending that way. I wouldn't definitively say yes.
I think right now it is. Because, if Lake Orion can somehow next season, if Lake Orion can somehow get victories against Clarkston, you know what I mean?
That'd be huge.
It would be huge. I think that rivalry would be, be back where it's supposed to be at.
Yeah.
But either way,
interesting.
It's an interesting question.
It's so strange that we're talking about this in the term of the state title game, right? Because you have 2 OA red teams in it.
Correct.
And that was brought up. They said the toughest division in the state of Michigan. And going into the season, we always say OA red or OAA in general is very difficult. You have a lot of quality teams up and down the line, right? Not just the red. You got the white and the blue.
White and the blue.
And so even the TV announcers are saying that was their out cues going to break, saying 2 teams from the toughest division or the toughest. They were saying the division in the state of Michigan.
I agree. The red was the toughest division in the state this year. When you look at the teams in that division, you look at Adams, you look at Bloomfield Hills, you look at Lake Orion, you look at Oxford. I mean, you look at also you look at Troy Athens. I mean, it's not the red is not an easy division.
No.
When you look at those teams, you look at as mentioned, you know what I mean? You have those teams when you have a West Bloomfield, a Clarkson, and Adams, a Lake Orion, a Bloomfield Hills, and Oxford. I mean, like, those are teams that have state championship pedigrees in their systems. Of course, they've all won state championships, probably the exception of West Bloomfield, who just recently made the state final.
Yes.
But, and Troy Athens. I mean, like,
Here's a question for you. Does West Bloomfield continue the success?
I think they do. Here's why. Because you have a quarterback coming next year I think is going to be very good. I saw him play in the JV ranks. He's ready to be a varsity player. He is that good. But then you also got to wonder, they've got talent coming up as well. Very good talent. But I also got to wonder the transfers. You got to wonder if they get any more transfers. I hope they don't, but I know they got one coming from Muskegon. I hope they don't.
Is he 6'6", 310?
No. But deep down, I really hope they don't get any and develop their homegrown kids.
Yes.
Because I personally believe if you develop your homegrown kids, you're going to get the best out of them. If you have them in the system, whether you're playing in youth or playing in your feeder systems, in the middle schools, freshman, junior varsity, and varsity.
Well, here's a question for you on the topic of transfers. How many transfers were on West Bloomfield's squad that played Saturday?
A lot.
Do we know? There's a lot?
A lot.
How many on Clarkston? Mainly hometown kids?
Mainly the hometown kids that came into that team.
Does that mean something? You play for the...
Yeah.
It's your hometown.
It's your hometown, yes.
It could be something to said for that.
But when you
I
look
know you're kind of reaching out there looking for something.
Yeah, but when you look at next year,
can they continue the success?
I think West Bloomfield will continue success. I think Clarkson could struggle a little bit next year when you look at who they got to replace, the quarterback, wide receivers. They've got to replace a lot, especially 3 starters on that line. I mean, you got to replace your defense.
But they always seem to do it.
They always find a way to do it because they got a lot of kids on that team.
Yeah.
But when you look at the talent
they have 110 on the roster or something like that.
When you look at the talent pool next year, you know what I mean? I watched their sub-varsities. They really, they struggled this year a little bit.
Really?
They really struggled this year. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what Clarkson does next year.
Just a completely strange 2017
very
conclusion.
Strange. Well, we got one more to talk about.
Absolutely.
Against Muskegon. When you look at
that one pretty much came out how you thought.
Yeah, it kind of did. When you look at that one, that score was 28-10 in favor of Muskegon. Difference that game was Darius Jefferson, who really didn't have to throw it. He showed everybody why he was missing football in the state of Michigan. He had 42 carries, 245 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's a credit to Muskegon's offensive line. That as we mentioned, was mammoth.
Legit.
They were legit, quick, mammoth, and athletic.
You told me about it. And we're like, boy, look, they're blowing people out. They're scoring 70. They tagged two or three teams with 70 this year. They're usually 60. And you're like, what's going on? You go, read option. Their offensive line's huge. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I've seen huge offensive line. But this is nothing like we've seen in the past in a high school squad.
When you look at what Darius Jefferson did.
Unbelievable.
They were in the state final where they lost to Orchard Lake St. Mary's. The way they lost that game was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But what they did to Harrison was, and I got to give their coaching staff a lot of credit, because they basically shut down. They literally said, okay, we're going to wear you down. Because you have at least 6 or 7 guys that go 2, maybe 3 ways.
Yes.
And we're going to do that to you guys. And they did. Now, Harrison limited Muskegon to 28 points. That was a great. That was a good. Yeah.
If you're going to hang your hat on something, you lost the game, but if you're going to hang your hat on something, they did a nice job.
But Harrison started off the game hot on a kickoff return by Ben Williams for 91 yards. That was huge early on.
Yep.
Because I didn't think Muskegon trailed all season until that point.
Let me call it up here.
because
And it was a huge lift for them because everybody's picking Muskegon, right?
everybody's picking Muskegon. They're not giving Harrison a chance. But there was a little bit of controversy in that game, too, if you really look at it. Because time ran out at the end of the first quarter. And the officiating, there's 4 scoreboards at Ford Field.
Yeah.
All red zero. And the officials let Harrison kick a 26-yard field goal.
Penalty?
No, they let him kick a 26-yard field goal
For
in the first quarter.
How did I miss that one? So
There was a stank about it from Muskegon.
well, there should be if there's zeros on the
They
clock.
were very upset about it.
So who's keeping time? The referee on the field?
I don't know who kept time over there. I think that officiating crew was not good over there. I didn't think he was that good when it came to clock management.
Wow.
But either way,
I missed that one.
yeah, but either way, it was basically the Darius Jefferson show.
It was.
I mean, and they didn't even have to throw. They only threw, I think, twice. And
Well, it seemed like the same play over and over
yeah, they
again.
just ran basically
right side, right side.
off.
Maybe mix it up or go left here just to set up the other right
And
side
then of course Jefferson would just walk in for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Basically untouched. Harrison had no chance in this game.
No, the size again. You cannot express enough the size of that O line on that right side.
No,
they
got 2 Division I recruits, possibly maybe 3, possibly 4 Division I recruits.
Yes,
coming there.
and they looked every bit of it. And the 2 Division I guys were men amongst boys.
One's a junior and one is a senior.
Okay.
I mean,
they're legit 6'5", 6'6", 3 something.
When
they're
you
huge.
saw Muskegon, what was your reaction?
Well, you told me, and I'm like, okay, we see big linemen every year. There's always 1 or 2, but when they lined up, and
It was like an NFL team.
it did. I mean, or a D1 college,
college team.
offensive line, and they played like it. And I can't say they were the fastest, but they were not going to be moved. All they had to do was lean and open a hole, and Jackson did the rest.
I mean, Jefferson.
Or Jefferson, excuse me.
I mean, he was Mr. Football in the state of Michigan.
When was that announced? Was that Saturday?
I think that was in the middle of the week last week.
Was it? Okay, because I didn't hear that until just now.
Yeah,
So.
but Jefferson had 4 touchdowns, as mentioned, of 8, 14 yards, 1 yard, and 3 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, Harrison's offense only ran 30 plays.
Time of
possession, Muskegon dominated.
Yeah.
Harrison did not have any chance, and then anytime Harrison had the ball, Muskegon's defense came to play.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you look at this game, when you look at that game, besides that game, you got to give Harrison a lot of credit. You know what I mean? Because next year, they're going to be a very small team. They're only going to have 25 players, according to John Harrington.
Wow.
And, what does this say for Harrison? Finishing 11-3, getting the state championship game with the issues that's been going on surrounding that football program and the fact that they're going to be closing up their doors in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, he said it on the broadcast, the Fox Sports broadcast. He said it'd be great. He goes, we'd love to get one more. He goes, because this is it. I mean,
Right.
this year is it. Your full complement of players, and this was your chance. And the guys, and they were playing on emotion, right? They were playing for something bigger than the school, right? So a player's father passed away, correct?
That was on West Bloomfield.
Or that was West Bloomfield. So what was Harrison? No, they're playing for their school then.
Right.
I mean, they had 1 more to go, right?
But I'm saying to you is, do you ever think, when that day, when Plant Moran announced that they were going to close Harrison, I wonder, eventually, in time, do you ever think that they're going to I hope someday that they rethink that decision. I don't think they're going to do it.
The thing is, a lot of things have to happen for a
Right.
school to reopen up again.
Correct.
And it will never be in the the form of it is currently or
No.
was in the past.
No.
It's just one of those. The thing is that it'll go into legend of what
John
that's
Harrington, yeah.
yeah. Well, that and what that school turned out. How many different players did he spit out? How many titles? And not just football.
13 state titles. You know what
not
I mean?
just football. I mean, they were solid no matter what they threw at you.
I mean, soccer this year, they went to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in boys soccer, they went to the Final Four. I mean, when you look at Harrison, but everything where them surrounds him is football.
Yeah.
With John Harrington there, he's got a great staff over there.
It's going to be difficult watching him play next year because if you only have 25, you sentimental favorite, you want him to do well. You hate to see a school like that close, but it's going to be different. Who knows? Maybe it'll shock us and get back. Who knows?
If Harrison does get back next year, I could see him possibly maybe a D4, possibly D5 with the enrollment.
Okay.
That they're gonna.
So they will change him.
They'll probably will change him. Basically with how the enrollment's going to look. But either way, when you look at the season they had, the teams they took out in the playoffs, when you look at Warren Fitzgerald, Warren Woods Tower, Linden, and then Riverview, and then of course the game with Muskegon. Harrison was a team last year that did not make the playoffs, and for them to have a bounce back,
it's great.
To have wins against to have that big win against Groves. Against Oak Park, but but either way, this has got to be, I think, one of Harrington's best jobs he's done over there.
Oh, definitely. Anytime you go from non-playoff team to playoff team to go to not just a playoff team, but you made it to the finals, fantastic.
And it was gonna be a tough order for Harrington's crew against Muskegon. It was gonna be a tough one.
It was feeling pretty good there for a little while.
It felt good for a little while, and then of course when Jefferson got going, it was
once he heated it up, it was over.
And actually, I also gotta give Muskegon's defense a lot of credit because they turned it around. They built what they had. They basically didn't let Harrison score again. Basically, and that's what happened.
They wore him down, like you said, and closed the door.
If Harrison would have been, I know I'm not being mean here, but if Harrison would have had a lot more kids, then who knows? Who knows? Maybe
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
That team was legit stacked top to bottom in Muskegon, and they were machine-like, and especially in the late quarters. They were just
they were a dominant team.
Yeah.
They were dominant.
Just you couldn't do anything to stop. It was like the inevitable. What do you do?
Nothing you can do.
The speeding train that you can't stop, but hey, I'll stand in front of it because that's what you're asking me to do.
Let's look at, of course, looking at next year's teams. Next year, do you see any teams possibly making a run at this thing next year besides West Bloomfield?
See, not knowing the depth of the rosters as you do, Sam, I don't know. There's always a chance, obviously, because the talent level around here, it could be, any OA team that is sitting at the top of their division has a shot. Always has a shot.
West Bloomfield, I think it's a team to watch. Adams could be a team to keep an eye
Adams
on.
is, they...
Clarkston, you also got Oxford with their freshman class. They had a nice year. Lake Orion's another one.
I don't know. I don't see a run in Oxford or Lake Orion. To be honest with you, we as much as we're sitting in a green and white city here doing this little broadcast here. You'd love to see it, but I don't know. Because you're still changing the system over. These guys are still getting used to it.
Still getting used to it. But when you look at,
they'll do much better. I think they'll do better next year for sure.
Better. But and then of course you look at Groves next year. You look at Oak. But I think if there's a team next year that I think's got a great chance to get to Ford Field next year, it's Oak Park.
Yeah.
Because of who they return. I think the Knights have a chance to be something special next year. And I think when you look at in the blue side of things, Avondale with that Couturier, I think Avondale next year, I think they're clearly the best team in that division next year.
And with Adams, who they
Adams, we know
what's their
they lose
graduation?
A lot.
See, we thought that they were due more this year.
But if they didn't let that tight end go for a touchdown, then who knows?
I know it's
knows?
it's one of those.
But who knows?
That's why you play the game, and maybe they got something going over there. They just churn it out again. Maybe they got a machine.
No,
in the
Tony
waiting to go.
Petrino. I think he's gonna have. I think his teams are gonna be fine. I really do.
But that's what makes it fun. It's fun to see what happens and watch those games.
I think it was a successful playoff for the OAA. I really do, because when you look at the OAA, of course, this is the first time. This is the first league to have two teams in the same division in the state final.
Crazy.
This is also, you have another team in the state final, Harrison. So 3 teams. You know what I mean? I remember back in 2010, of course.
Has that ever happened? We were talking about this before. It's great having 3.
Has any? Never happened. Never happened where 2 teams in the same division.
Well, 2, but having a third in the final.
No, I don't think it's ever. Well, maybe you got to look at the Ottawa Kent Conference, but but not like
not
everybody
the
at the same time. At the same time itself. That's remarkable.
Because even I was talking to some relatives that were in town for obviously eating turkey and having a good time over the weekend watching football. And they were actually out, like, questioning how could this possibly happen? Like, who allowed that to happen? Aren't there rules in place? I said,
no.
Well, Clarkston had to go on the other side of the state.
Had to go on the other side of the state, yeah.
And work their way back, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just the way it was set up.
That's how it was set up, you know what I mean?
And they won their way on the road.
They won their way on the road, especially up at Holland, West Ottawa. And, of course, West Bloomfield had a really tough pass. Harrison, kind of, you got to look at Harrison's. They would have played Dearborn Devon Child. That would have been an interesting game.
Yeah.
But, who knows what would happen.
But it worked out. I mean,
it worked out.
The season is at the end. We're kind of just
conclusion.
You're always looking back to go, what could have been.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to keep an eye on the transfers surrounding football.
Yeah. So when does that usually get going? The springtime?
No, it usually gets going probably around this month.
Okay, before the second term
starts, yeah.
Or the third term, or however they do it these days. Before the Christmas break.
Usually, yes.
You get registered, so you go to school, then you'll be eligible.
Then you would have to sit out the semester before you play.
So which semester? The fall semester?
Semester.
So that would be spring semester. You can't participate in any sports, so you're eligible for the fall.
Correct.
All right.
Yep, correct. Okay, now when we come back, we're gonna preview some girls basketball. Of course, we're in the start of girls basketball here on Oaa Now.
This is Lake Orion's own, the local voice. Call ONTV and get on air 248-393-1060. Let your voice be heard. Internet radio for all. Call ONTV and get on air.
Please remember that CFL bulbs, those curly, energy-efficient light bulbs everybody is using to save electricity, shouldn't be thrown away in your trash. Neither should batteries or home medical sharps. You can check with your local community to see where they can be recycled. Some retailers will allow you to bring them in for recycling. You can also order simple kits online that allow you to collect your recyclables and simply mail them away to be properly recycled. This green tip was brought to you by your friends at Waste Management.
Welcome back to Oaa Now. I'm Sammy Taormina. We got some breaking news to break into, you guys.
Breaking news?
Yes,
what?
Breaking news. Yes.
What is that breaking news saying?
Hazel Park's got a new girls basketball coach. Out of Hazel Park, of course, Chad Osmond was named the new head coach at Hazel Park, taking over for Chris Stroud. Osmond comes over from Macomb Christian, where his record was just abysmal over at Macomb Christian. But with Hazel Park, this is going to be their third coach in 3 years. And, I think he'll be there in the long term. But I think what's going to help Hazel Park this year is they got 10 seniors back.
10?
10 seniors back.
What's the max roster you can have?
Well, you can have, the max is 15 players. And, of course, last year Hazel Park was a 13-10 team before they lost to Detroit Mumford in the district final. I mean, Hazel Park this year is going to be in the blue with Farmington, Oak Park, Avondale, Pontiac, and Berkeley. Of course, in their district, they're up in Class A, where they're probably going to have to likely deal with a very loaded Detroit Renaissance team.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like for Hazel Park, this is like a whole another part of the coaching carousel. A lot of new coaches in girls basketball. Of course, Hazel Park opens up the year against Mount Clemens on Tuesday, which they should win that game. I mean, and their schedule looks very favorable. 2 games against East Point. They got Madison Heights Lampier, Hamtramck, Armada, and Walled Lake Central.
Isn't this late in the game to be throwing a new coach into the mix? I mean, what would happen? I mean, you already had tryouts. You got everybody there.
They were already set.
Schedule's made.
Team's already
Also, any news on why?
I don't know why Stroud left. I really don't know why he would leave, but either way, I hope this move's good for him. I hope it is. I mean, because, Hazel Park's a team to keep an eye on in the blue division this year. I
10
mean,
seniors returning. Are you kidding?
with 10 seniors. But when you look
Playoff
at
experience?
When you look at the blue this year, the favorite has to be Avondale, because Avondale of course, as mentioned, of course, the league this year went from 4 divisions to 3 divisions. Of course, Harrison not having a freshman team, so that kind of works in Farmington's favor a little bit, because Farmington ended up getting Perkins and Olivia Perkins and Nevada Hargraves, whereas North Farmington got Kyra King. But when you look at the favorite, it has to be Avondale, because they won. They were an injury-riddled team last year. They got a lot coming back. I mean, when you look at the Yellow Jackets, of course, they are going to be led by their talented forward/guard Olivia Russell, who had 2 ACL injuries last year.
Oh boy. Last year?
Yeah, one in her first year, and then last year she injured her other ACL.
Oh my.
So they're hoping to get a full season out of her. You have Toya Golden and Grace Sherlin coming back. Both of them are going to be mainstays in the forward and interior parts of things. Kerry Reed was a guard last year who really broke out once Russell got hurt, and they added a transfer into the fold as well. Of course, she didn't play varsity basketball last year, but Keziah Buggs actually comes from Lake Orion. She used to play at Lake Orion in the sub-varsity programs. She now went over to Avondale, ended up going to varsity for them, and it'd be very interesting what Phil Dawson's going to have with that talent. They got a lot of talent over there. I mean, this is a team I think is going to be very good this year. I think they're going to be very good. Farmington, as mentioned, they got a very good team back. Of course, you look at Perkins and Hargraves, but they also have Michaela Martin as a shooter. They have Cecilia Norris, Abby Seminowski's a forward. They got a first-year coach, though, and Laura Guzman back.
Okay.
Guzman, of course, knows the OA quite well. And she knows the league quite well.
Which always helps.
Yep. She was at Rochester under Adam Sheldon. So Farmington's a team to keep an eye on as well. Berkeley, of course, they got a new coach, Kirk Carolyn, who was a JV coach last year. They, of course, are led by Olivia DiCarlo, who I think is going to have a really nice year for them. I'm curious about their non-conference slate. I think their non-conference is pretty easy, in my opinion.
Okay.
Pretty easy. But then, of course, Hazel Park, we mentioned. Of course, they got a lot of seniors back. And Katia Clark, Trinity Benton, Liz Sterner, among others. They won 13 games last year. Oak Park, they don't have any forwards, but they have Ariel
heavy.
Kennedy and Kyle Wilson. Yep, they're guard heavy. Pontiac, of course, they got experience back, but the schedule is not going to do them any favors for them. It's not going to do them any favors. And Ferndale is basically going to be very young this year.
Okay.
So that's the blue. The white is going to be very interesting because you got obviously
You got some shuffling around in the way.
Oh yeah, the white, very interesting dynamic. I mean, I think it's a 2-team race in that division.
How many teams in the white?
I think there's 8.
Oh boy.
Yep. The favorite has to be. I think it's going to be a 2-team race between Royal Oak and Groves. I mean, of course, Brian Zapata returns. Jessica Adams and Samantha Potter. Of course, you have Claire Kozinski at center. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, Royal Oak loaded up their non-conference. Brian Zapata does a really good job with that team. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there.
Tough competition early.
Very tough.
Pays dividends later in the season.
Of course, it does. Yep. Groves is an interesting one because what I heard is Shay Carter's now back in Michigan. She now originally thought she was going to go to North Carolina.
Oh.
That never materialized. So now she's back. Grove's got a new coach in Jessica Weisler, who comes over from Grosse Pointe South, but she's known the OAA from her days at Hazel Park. So when you look at that one, Hazel Park, Groves is loaded. Of course, ONTV, and of course, I believe it's Roger Smith's crew's going to have the game with Groves.
Dragon Broadcasting.
Yep, they're going to have that game with Groves, and that's going to be a very tough matchup for Lake Orion against Groves.
Yep.
We'll see what happens there, but Groves is loaded this year when you look at that team.
And speaking of games, if you want to watch them, I hate to cut you off there, Sam, but pretty much every Tuesday and Friday, there will be a game to be viewed here in the Orion area on the NFHS network. Go to ONTV's website at orionontv.org, and we'll have the updated streaming schedule of hockey, basketball. And it's not, majority of the games will be home games, or all of them are Dragon home games,
Right.
but you get to see the flavor of the league, all these guys coming in. So tune in.
Yep. Back to the girls preview here. West Bloomfield, of course. Burt Mosley now takes over. I really like this hire. I like West Bloomfield a lot. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be solid. I really do like them, even though I got concerns with their interior. Oxford, strength of the team's guard and interior. Of course, they got Ashley Hirschman back. Rachel Breyer coaching second season. Olivia Clark's, Caitlin Bean are interesting players. Mackenzie Mentor, Lauren Mentor. Very interesting. Oxford's going to be a team to keep an eye on this year in the white. Troy, of course, they got experience back as well. Simon Bottle's team. I think they're going to be all right. And then, of course, Rochester, new coach, Chanel Pointer, coming over from Oxford. Does have Jenna Norgrove, Barraza, and Tori Hawkins back. Seaholm, I like their work ethic. They're going to be okay there. They got some talent. And then Troy Athens, the strength of that team is balanced. They're going to be something to keep an eye on. And then let's look at the red. Of course, this is a division where this could get interesting because Tom Markowski. I'm not a big fan of Tom Markowski. Never was, never am. I mean, I know he hates me.
Why is that, Sam?
I know he hates me. I know he hates me.
Hate's a tough word, a very strong word.
He hates me, But when you look at the red this year, I mean, the favorite has to be Southfield because they got two future Division I recruits in Cheyenne McEvans, Alexis Johnson. They got some good guards as well. They're athletic. They're not big, but they're athletic.
Speed?
Yep. Speed makes up for a lot of things.
Yep.
Clarkson is probably the next best. Return their starting fives back.
Oh, boy.
When you look at Molly Nicholson at center, Kayla Lukenbeck at power forward, Maddie Beck at small forward, Kiana Noit basically is your point guard, and you have Taylor Heaton, who's a incoming who had a really nice freshman year last year. Don't ask North Fireman's in that, but but she's back. She's back. So that's your whole starting five. The bench is going to be a question mark. I think there's a lot of pressure on Christine Rogers, considering what the boys' teams have done.
No kidding.
And
expectations across the board at that program are high.
Yeah, it's high. You know what I mean? And if they don't get it done, I think there's pressure on Clarkson. I think there is.
Well, starting five, anybody returns a starting five has got.
And they're a senior-heavy team too.
That's ready made for success.
I know. And then North Farmington, of course, they played their first game against Lakeland. Killed them 59-16.
Oh, boy.
Sam Cherney had 23 points, 19 rebounds.
Oh, my.
Paige Chokian, a guard for them, had 13 points, 15 steals.
What?
Not kidding.
15
steals. What does that say?
Someone's not paying attention to the ball handling on the other side.
Much.
That's amazing.
Yep, but I just didn't think Lakeland was that good. I'll be honest with you. I saw them at a scrimmage. I didn't think they were that good.
Well, they were that night.
They were. But we'll see. I think North France is a team to keep an eye on.
Yeah, sure.
Stony Creek is I call Kellen James's team. I think Kellen James Kellen James and Paul Feinbaum need to go together. Those are the two guys that need to go together. I mean, I like this team that Stony Creek has, despite the fact they lack varsity experience, but their schedule is absolutely a nightmare. They're non-conference. When they have to play games against Waterford Kettering and Walled Lake Western, ouch. I think Kellen James might want to call Mystery Incorporated for that one. Seriously.
That's funny.
And then, of course, you have Adams. I think Adams is a team that could have some issues this year. And then, of course, you have Bloomfield Hills, another team. I think despite the fact they lost Amanda Safe and Victory Franklin, I think that'll be something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, there's Lake Orion. Of course, Lake Orion's a team.
How the Dragons looking?
Dragons are a team that I think, first-year coach Mike Griffin, I think it's going to be an interesting program. They got a lot of experience back. When you look at players such as Cameron Coltrane, Peyton Shadiah, you look at a team like and you have a Soapy Canine back, a Soapy Whiteborth. They got a lot of experience back. They do. And of course, this is a team that just needs stability, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, Griffin's the third coach in 3 years for this team. Of course, we had him on my previous show, on the Girls Basketball previous show. This is a program that needs stability, and I think, the question for this team's going to be, they got a ton of questions. Experience in the red, conditioning, and of course the lack of size. That could be an issue for this team.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a couple of promising freshmen to keep an eye on. Not going to name them. But when you look at Lake Orion, they won 8 games last year. They got a murderer's row of a non-conference, especially with games against, you got Utica Eisenhower on a Tuesday. You got Groves on a Friday. Then you got Holly in there. Those are 3 not easy games. And then you got to play Notre Dame Prep later in the year. And then, of course, you have to play. And then when you get in the league play, you're playing all those teams twice.
Yeah.
So that's
it's going to be interesting to see. I mean,
it will not be easy for this team.
It could be a sink or swim. Do they swim? Do they rise above? As long as can the coach keep them calm? Can he keep them focused on the prize down the road?
I got a lot of confidence in Mike Griffin. I think he's going to do a very good job with this team. I really do. The question is, is his schedule too much for him? That's the question. And when you look at this team, they've got questions. Can they develop that interior? Can they develop that scoring? Can they develop that outside shooting? I mean,
yeah, especially if you're lacking size.
If you're lacking size,
you need that one. If you have that one post player that can relieve that stress on the outside, that you're looking for someone to step up. But if they don't have that person, what happens?
And you're going to have problems. I mean,
fast break.
Right. I mean, basically, when you look at Lake Orion, I think at best is third place team right now in the division. But the worst it could be is in the cellar.
Yeah.
So this team's got some questions.
Absolutely.
We'll see what they got.
Anytime you change coaches, just like some of the other ones, even though you have stacked roster, you change regimes.
You got to go through a transition period.
Absolutely. You got to get used to the new style. Are they going to overhaul the way things were done? Are they going to keep?
You're going to have to go through a transition period. It takes 3 weeks. I don't know if it takes 3 weeks to get a system changed, but Rome was not built overnight.
Yeah.
But if you had to change coaches, you got to play a somewhat easier non-conference just to basically get your system in play. I mean, with Lake Orion, they've got a tough schedule, tough non-conference. So that's not easy for them. I mean, Groves, they got a new coach and they got a tough non-conference. I mean, when you look at teams that have tough non-conferences, it's going to be tough. When I look at teams that don't have really a tough non-conference, I don't think Troy Athens is a tough non-conference. Troy, I know, don't have one. I think I'm not a fan of North Farmington's non-conference. I mean, I think it's pretty
a little soft.
I think it's a little soft, to say the least. I'm not even a fan of Hazel Park's non-conference, and I think their schedule is too soft. I think Berkeley's non-conference is too soft. So, we'll see.
Well, you got to win them. I mean, if you say they're soft, if you lose them,
you better win them. If you lose them, then people are gonna say, "What in the world blaze are you doing?"
Absolutely.
But we'll see what happens this upcoming girls basketball season.
Should be fun. I mean, it's always fun to kick the season off. Games coming up starting this week, I think.
North Farmington played Lakeland, as mentioned already.
Okay, yep. And Lake Orion themselves play this evening.
Yeah,
right? Is it this evening or is it this week sometime?
It's Tuesday.
Okay.
Sometime this time. Yep.
So today, I think we'll be over there covering one of the games tonight.
So we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Of course, you have something to.
Yeah,
break
a
up.
little. Shall we break at the breaking news?
Okay. You said the all academic teams
Yeah,
were
so
announced?
some good news for Lake Orion cross country again. They did well. At least the
Do you
girls.
have anything from others for Clarkson too?
I don't. I was looking on the MHSAA site, but I didn't see anything listed. They just had. I have to dig a little bit deeper, but we can share. It's always exciting when the teams do well in the playoffs or in their championship meets or whatever, right? It's always good to see the
of
OA
course,
doing well.
Troy won the
Troy
state
won
girls.
Troy won the title, and I'm sure they have individual academic all-state. But the academic all-state was announced just last week, late last week, I think it was. And Lake Orion has a nice haul of awards coming their way. Andrew Nolan, the sophomore runner who was, I think, 13th overall or 14th overall at state meet.
Yeah.
He made academic all-state. Congratulations to him on doing it in the classroom and on the field. And the Lake Orion varsity girls team also won as a team the Academic All-State Award. So that was awesome. And the team GPA, I think it was 3.98.
Doing well in the classroom.
Fantastic. It's
I know,
it's
and
really
I also
exciting.
know Clarkson. I know they do well in the classroom. I know a lot of these teams academically, they do well in the classroom. So,
But I know as far as the team Academic All-State, they were
heck of an honor.
They were the top GPA out of all the teams competing in D1.
That's not
so
bad.
There's one award for that. So
That's
congratulations
not bad.
to the Lake Orion girls varsity
That's not
team on
bad.
Academic All-State.
Okay, now if you want to see more of my girls basketball preview, it is on my blog at Sammy_Taormina at blogspot.com. Of course, I'm going to have the boys basketball preview up sometime this week, and we'll see what happens going forward. For Ian Locke, I am Sammy Taormina. I'm going to sign off here. Enjoy your day, everybody, and good luck this week for girls basketball teams, along with the basketball teams as well. So thank you, take care, and see y'all next week.
See you, Sam. Oaa Now is brought to you by ONTV, produced by Sammy Taormina. All the opinions expressed on this show are his and his alone. Thank you for tuning in. If you're interested in producing your own podcast like Sammy does here at ONTV, give us a call at 248-393-1060, and we'll get you started. See ya.